it is.
There it is. There it is. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome aboard.
What's up?
How you doing? This is my good friend Josh Vetter. You may know him if you visited Universal Studios as one of the many talented performers there. His position will remain nameless. That's for you to figure out.
If you go enough, you'll find me.
Yeah, absolutely. And from his amazing podcast show, which I've featured on before, Broken Zipper podcast, Busted Zipper podcast. Excuse me. And you can check out the Busted Zipper podcast at Busted Zipper Wrestling or Busted Zipper on Instagram and the rest. So tonight, my friend, it's a hot topic in the room.
Yeah.
A lot of talk has been going on, and tonight we're going to talk all about it. Yeah, we're talking about Star Wars.
I mean, spoiler warning, right?
Yeah,
Obviously.
absolutely. Total
But
spoiler
it's been
warning.
3 weeks,
It's
4
been
weeks?
plenty of
It's been
time.
enough time.
If you haven't seen this movie by now, shame on you as a person. Shame on you as a human being.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh, yeah.
So first impressions, let's talk about, a lot of people are talking about the negatives of the film. Let's
Yeah.
talk about some positives, okay? First of all, in my opinion, the most positive element of the film was that it looked beautiful.
Oh, my God.
It looked
The
great.
cinematography was fantastic.
They captured a huge, great opening sequence with like an old bombing run film that Lucas he orgasms
Oh, yeah.
over that, right? He loves that shit. So George was like,
Well, it's a great part of the film when the old bombing sequence took place. Really took me back to those,
Perfect George Lucas impression.
war videos I used to do in the X-Wing TIE fighters, Galactic Wars, fucking Star Wars.
Just walking alone by himself, just mumbling about
yeah. So I like the cinematography.
Oh,
That's
all the
one
different
of the first
planets,
things.
the Salt planet at the end, was both thematically in terms of you needed it for the Luke Kylo fight, but also it just looked cool when the ground speeders were chasing the drill, and it looked great.
Right, absolutely. So it looked great. There was some story progression that I enjoyed.
Mm-hmm.
I enjoyed seeing Kylo get more mad.
Mm-hmm.
I liked seeing him just rage fruitlessly and be pissed off.
Yeah.
I liked seeing that, and I liked a little bit of Poe, in the beginning.
Yeah.
And I liked how he stuck to his guns, and even though he was completely stupid,
But they maintained his character.
they maintained his stupidity the entire time.
Which was great. And I like Rey's too. That's a good thing about the main three this time around with Poe, Rey, and Kylo is they've given them strong characters and they're not wavering from them. Whether or not it's a good or bad choice, the characters are the characters, and there's no like, I don't know if they do that. And they're like solid character arcs and character choices, which is nice.
Yeah, I agree. Okay, so positives there. Negatives. Jesus Christ, man. Jesus Christ. Look, I'm the guy who likes the Phantom Menace. I liked Attack of the Clones.
If you had to do it a hard thumbs up, thumbs down for Last Jedi, thumbs down. See, I'm like 60, 55, 45 thumbs up, but I'm a bit more of an apologist when it comes to Star Wars.
I've made excuses for the Phantom Menace for years.
Right.
Oh, the pod race and the great fight at the end with Darth Maul. Look, man, I can't make excuses for this one. It's not, to me, like I said, it was a beautifully made film, and you could tell there was love behind it. But to me, I didn't agree with what was happening, and that's okay. It's okay to disagree with and still, but I just didn't enjoy it. And one of the biggest reasons why is it felt like this storyline was great. I just didn't want to see it in the main arc, because the main arc had many places to go still before we see this. And this should have been an afterthought. This should have been like 10, 11, 12.
Right.
I can see this happening at the beginning of 10. Luke just gives up, and you're like, oh no, it's over. And then the whole trilogy is based on new people. Because what's going to happen now? The first one, Han dies. The second one, Luke dies so far.
Right.
Third one, Carrie Fisher's already passed away. They're all gone at this point.
I think definitely we're going to see Luke as a Force ghost for almost the entire episode 9.
Yeah.
Especially with Leia gone.
Yeah.
Carrie Fisher, really.
Kylo Ren did have the great scene, though, when he took can you put a clavet on or something? She says, a clavet.
Yo, Adam Driver's been hitting the chest workouts, and they're like, oh, shit, we got to put that in.
He was so like,
tits.
He was just like, yeah, dude, sweaty too. Like he was all like greasy. And,
jacked.
like, did he just finish a workout or was he out the shower? Like,
Right. What's the backstory behind Kylo Ren's shirtless scene? I want a standalone about that. Forget this Solo movie. Forget the Obi-Wan movie. I want to know Kylo's workout regime.
what is he doing to be so swole? You know?
What did you think about Snoke dying before we knew exactly who Snoke was?
Snoke falls total victim to the trap of Rian Johnson admittingly saying, I wrote this movie before Star Wars The Force Awakens came out, so it was already written for me, and none of that shit made a difference. And it was just like, you could tell the minute in the first scene when Luke's like throws the precious saber over his shoulder, and you're like, what?
Yeah.
You know?
That was the one thing, that included, it felt... I know everyone's like, Disney shouldn't touch shit, and usually Disney is fine because they write a blank check, but there are some things, especially in Marvel movies, where Disney definitely like, oh, that's jokes that don't allow tension to be tension. Like when there's joke after joke with Luke's island with the freaking weird green tits and like throwing the shit and that shit. Yeah.
That's okay the first 2 seconds you see it as you grimace openly in the theater is what my theater did. Grimaced, and there were some people, and then I'm like, wait a minute, that's with Star Wars Forever. Jesus.
Yeah, like that's canon. But let tension be tension for a while. I feel like especially with Disney and with superhero and now Star Wars movies, they're afraid to let a heavy moment just kind of sit.
The Empire Strikes Back is the greatest Star Wars movie in my opinion. And it's the one I enjoyed the most as a child, and I rented it a lot. And in The Force Awakens, JJ really got me happy because she touched that saber, and you go to the corner of Cloud City in particular, and you hear Vader and the scream of Luke, and when that shit went down, it was amazing, you know?
Yeah.
It was, and then this movie was like, no, none of that shit matters. And then Kylo Ren had the mask of Vader.
That's the whole thing. It feels like Rian Johnson decided, I don't want Kylo to follow Vader anymore. Kylo's entire arc in Force Awakens was following Vader's footsteps.
Obsessed with finding relics of Vader and Skywalker to be more like him.
And now there's a scene in Last Jedi where he literally is smashing his helmet.
The continuity doesn't make sense either because at the very beginning of the movie, we are told that it happens literally as Force Awakens is ending.
Right.
But because of the scenes with Rey, which transgress, we can say that transpires over a month, right? Or 2, you know, because she's there and maybe it happens. But the scenes with Poe and all them happening, that's pretty much right after because they show them blowing up the base.
Yeah.
They show them blowing up the base that was in Force Awakens and everything. And the continuity has a problem because then Kylo shows up to Snoke somehow, right?
Yeah.
It's before the Force visions with Rey, so we know it's earlier. And he's like, how's your injury?
I didn't even break this down. Yeah, I didn't think about that.
He goes, how's your injury? And he goes, I'm fine. He mentions it. But I'm like, no. He's not just fine. That was a serious injury from the last one. He got slashed in the face and shot in Chewie's gun in the side.
Which has one-shot many people in the entire series.
We see it as an explosion. And he's like, okay, where's his cybergenetic implant for that? They don't go into any of that to make him more machine now than man. Yeah. That was part of Vader. Was that he lost more of his humanity to the machines, and it was easier for him to succumb and be seduced by the dark side.
Yeah.
That he eventually realized what was happening. He just gave up, you know, because he figured Padme was dead, and he didn't care anymore. And he just drank the dark side juice.
Yeah. He drank the dark side proverbial nipple juice.
God, dude. The milk scene was what Mark Hamill wanted. That is debatable.
Christ.
But that was another moment when it's like, oh, here's your hero doing weird shit. I can see that.
You know, this is the first Star Wars movie in the entire main canon, not the side movies, Rogue One or whatever. There, 2 lightsabers don't touch the entire movie.
Ever.
I will say, though, the fucking
throne room fight was cool.
It was sick. It was a dope scene. It was really good fight choreography. But again, lightsabers didn't touch, which...
I guess maybe it falls into people who hated the Phantom Menace and the Darth Maul fight didn't do it for them, so to speak.
Right.
Which is this one. Like, people who like the Last Jedi. Shut up. Thanks, got right for the subscription. Yeah, but I feel like Luke's whole entire arc was like totally cut off. And here's Luke Skywalker, guy who not only saved Darth Vader, okay, this guy, you know, up over there, right here. That guy.
That way.
Yeah. And 6 planets are blown up. Millions of people are killed.
Yeah.
But because 8 students left you and 5 were killed, well, forget everything. You know, like, I don't think...
I have thoughts on that. I think one of the coolest things JJ introduced, personally, this is more I kind of like the idea in Force Awakens, was the fucking Knights of Ren. Having the idea of this, like, pseudo Sith hit squad that's going around the galaxy taking people out was
Sick.
Is the coolest fucking thing.
And they wore black. They never wore red. Suddenly they were turned into the Imperial Guard to fit the story
That's what I
needs.
asked. I was like, wait, is the Imperial Guard the Knights of Ren? Because even, I will say, he mentions it just quickly. He said Kylo Ren escapes with a handful of students. Like, you're left to assume that that's the Knights of Ren, I guess.
Now, however, this is here. Let's go optimistic.
Yeah.
What if that hasn't happened yet?
Right.
And he takes the helmet back because he's like, fuck it. I tried going the other way. It didn't work out for me, but I got the power. I'm wearing the helmet again because it's mine.
Yeah.
You know, and it's me. Maybe he wears the Vader helmet. Who knows? You know, and then he reforges the Knights of Ren again, because I guarantee you, Episode 9 is not taking place anytime near the end of Episode 8.
Oh, no.
It's taking place years later.
Yeah.
It's the only way they can scrub it and make everything work.
Yep.
Because
we're gonna get a lot of characters and a lot of people back. We're gonna get the lightsaber. The green lightsaber is gonna be. Where is the green light? Is that the one I don't even know where it is.
Where is the green lightsaber? She has to have taken it if Luke's gone. She'll go back and get it, hopefully, you know.
The blue one, yeah.
We hope that she goes and gets the green one to try and fix the blue one.
What's her name? Lupita Nyong'o's character is gonna come back.
But there's
Maz.
a story, there's a chance there, because they never explain they explain in Jedi that Luke built his own lightsaber again, and
Right.
that was his true path to becoming a real Jedi.
Well, until Disney retconned it, it was canon that a Jedi has to build their own lightsaber to officially be a Jedi. I don't think that's true anymore.
No, because there's no Jedi left.
Right.
The only good point that someone made, I read, was someone was saying that this movie somehow explained the midichlorian bullshit.
Right.
Because it was saying that in Phantom Menace they talk about the midichlorians, and it made the Jedi like a caste system. So if
Yeah.
you had a midichlorian count that was high but not high enough, the Jedi could be like, no, sorry, you can't join.
Yeah.
You can't be a Jedi because you're not high enough, meaning you don't have enough money, or you don't have high enough midichlorian count to join.
Right.
And there were still people who were Force sensitive. This, when Luke says, the Force is for everyone, doesn't mention anything about midichlorians. So it's like, okay, you know, so you figure what's going on there.
And there was, and I do like, there's a lot of things that you can pinpoint in that movie to like about it, but as an overarching movie, there are also just a lot of problems. Well, that's the thing too. Episode 9 is going to be the first Star Wars without a Skywalker, and I used to be okay with it because I always said it's Star Wars, you know, not keeping up with the Skywalkers, and I think too.
Well,
technically,
Ren is a Skywalker.
Ren's a Skywalker. Leia's a Skywalker. Unfortunately, they didn't know that they would be
Yeah.
without Leia. But that's the thing too, is Kylo Ren is a Skywalker.
He is.
He's just not down with it.
Right.
And I've held on to this. Let's talk about Rey's parents.
Let's talk about Rey's parents.
I've had a fan theory that I know is just a fan theory and I don't expect to come true, but I want it so desperately. I want Rey to be a Kenobi. I would love if Rey was Obi-Wan's granddaughter, because there's a shitload, and because too that means Kylo Ren could have very well been telling the truth, where Obi-Wan's kids were just gamblers and alcoholics, and they had a child who happened to be in the Kenobi line, whose parents were dirtbags and were nobodies, but her grandfather happens to be a Jedi Master.
Happens to be.
Yeah. But the other thing too is, even if she truly did come from nothing, while it sucks,
They had a nice ship.
right.
I mean, you look at the ship in Force Awakens that came from nothing. It's a nice ship.
Yeah.
Right? Like, if it's able to go to orbit and go to hyperdrive and drop somebody off, or, you know, like, or maybe that wasn't their ship. It's just the whole thing had holes, and it was cheap. It was cheap, dude. It was
Yeah.
like, you could have made Rey. That doesn't make her, to me, you know, Rey was already strong. Giving her an even weaker backstory to prove that she's even stronger it almost feels so forced. It's like, no, just give her something regular, or even
Right.
more regular at this point. She is extraordinary. She's not mediocre. You know, she's a hero just like everybody else, so she can have a heroic backstory.
Right.
It can be more than they were junk traders and you're nothing, you know?
Yeah.
Like, look at everyone who's been born has a huge story. From Luke to Leia
Yeah.
to
There's some sort
Anakin.
of lineage
He was
there.
just conceived by the Force.
Right.
Like,
Was that Rey? Probably not, but or is there a parallel there that Rey was conceived by the Force?
and think of it, Anakin's elk is all just people who come from the main thing that was conceived by the Force,
Yeah.
Luke included. Like,
Yeah.
it's
Oh,
weird.
that's a good point. Friend Taylor is none of the merchandise for the last. They list them as guards. They don't list the
As
Imperial.
Knights of the Ren.
They list them as Imperial guards. So
Interesting.
there's still a chance out there, and that's a good point too. He said a lot of holes in the Last Jedi can be filled by the books, which okay, but I have a problem with like, I get it, the books are canon, but don't make me read. Like, I shouldn't have to
Man.
go find a book to complete the movie.
Not at all.
That's why Laura Dern's character, I guess there's at least 1 or 2 books of her and Leia really forming in a relationship. So if you knew that, if you read the books, that character arc was a lot more touching. But for literally anyone else, like me, I figure why didn't they just make
They're asking a lot, too, to make people forget what was already in the EU for 30 some years.
right.
And just accept a plethora of new knowledge.
Right, and if you're going to go to the effort of writing a line to acknowledge Admiral Akbar and that everybody loves Akbar and that he died too, I don't know, make Akbar sacrifice himself.
God.
If you're looking to do that fan service, fucking commit and have Akbar be the one to sacrifice, and that would be insanity, and I think it would go over a lot better than maybe Laura Dern, who did fine as an actor. She was fine. Just, I didn't give a shit about her character. When she died, I was like, good for her. She took him down with him. No love lost. I don't know.
The whole thing was like, wait, why haven't more people done this? Destroyed entire fleets with one ship
Like, yeah.
going to light speed. Like, what a brilliant idea, you know? And all it takes is one person, like, you know, to
Right.
pilot it, or a droid.
Or a fucking droid that can hit light speed.
Why didn't they have a droid do it? Like, the whole time was like, we need someone to stay. There's 1,000,000 droids on the ship. C-3PO.
At least one of them nobody likes, right?
You know, I mean, like, God, they could have
Yeah.
had some broken droid down in the corner that was the same droid from the sand crawler.
Right.
The people would have been like, oh, that guy. And he's like, bob, bob, bob.
Oh, shit.
Fucking A, man.
Yeah.
Someone asked about Porgs. Porgs was a total attempt to sell toys because there's no other way to sell toys in the movie.
Oh, absolutely. And do you know the other reason behind
There's no
Porgs
way
too?
to sell toys. You know why? Because all the ships get blown up. And you don't want to buy Finn's cruiser at the end that he destroyed flying into a fucking
Here's a rickety,
meteor.
rusty piece of
Yeah,
shit.
no one wants that.
Well, I guess too, Porgs, because there were so many. This could be just a PR piece that LucasArts released, but I guess apparently there were so many puffins on that island that we were filming at. They needed Porgs because in case a puffin made the shot.
I read that too.
Again,
They just turned them into Porgs in the shots after because there were so many birds just flying around to begin
but
with. Yeah.
if you're gonna take my only thing with that, I'm gonna pretend to believe that because it's a cute story. But to look at the negative side, if you're gonna go the effort of making a puffin a Porg, then why wouldn't you just remove the puffin? Why create it? Whatever.
It took me until after the movie to realize Chewie was cooking porgs. I thought he just had chicken or something there. And then later I was like, oh no, he was like actually cooking them. And I misread the scene. I thought they were hungry and wanted some of it. And he was like, no, you can't have my chicken. Because
No.
I didn't take Chewie as the kind of person who would murder this species in front of people, you know what I'm
Right.
saying, to eat them. I thought of more positive about Chewbacca, that he was
Right.
just brought some food and was cooking it, and they wanted some. And he was like, no, you can't have it. And then they kept getting sad, and he was like, no. And then he was like, oh, I should have given it to him, you know. Now I don't want it.
Nope.
No,
Yeah.
I was like, no, that was a porg. He
Chewie
had
was
cooked.
straight cold-blooded. Plucked it, skinned it in front of everybody.
Skinned it.
Christ. I think
Very Chewy, like though. You know, like it was
a good
very Chewy.
save for that. It was a good representation of Chewie. Chewie stayed pretty solid.
He did, because he didn't do anything. Neither
Right.
did
They
C-3PO or
couldn't, they couldn't
R2-D2.
mess him up.
Yeah.
What the fuck? Why was the lack of R2 there? I get it. That was cool. It was cool, like, have him play the original clip of Leia.
Yeah,
I dug that.
that was touching.
It was touching. Same with Yoda's
But
whole
then,
appearance.
touching
was great.
moment, cheap Mark Hamill line written in. That's a cheap shot. Like you couldn't have had him say something like, "All right, R2,
Right.
all right."
Here's a fun fact. Here's another positive.
It's fanfic, but I get it. You know.
Did you know I have a bad feeling about this was in the movie. The line that has in every Star Wars, it's at the beginning of the bomb run. BB-8 says it, and Poe responds to it. It's like one of the first lines in the
Got a
entire
bad
movie.
feeling about this. Yeah, well, I'm feeling good.
Yeah,
There's
Poe
something.
responds, which is pretty cool. That it's, keep the line in there, but BB-8 says it. So I was down with that.
Was there a Wilhelm scream? Ah!
I think there was
Was there?
somewhere. James Corden was in it, and all that. I do need to ask you, because while overall I know I'm pinpointing a lot of bad things, I'd say I'd give it a thumbs up, a light thumbs up. I think you could have removed the entire casino scene
Oh yeah, easily, easily.
and moved on with the movie. And I get it. That's what the middle of every saga is supposed to be, the hopeless one. It's supposed to be where the bad guy wins, where plans don't go to accordingly. And I'm fine with that. I'm fine when the bad guys win, especially in the middle entry of the saga. But it just seemed so pointless.
So forced. Didn't have enough
Yeah.
time to explain it, and you want me to believe that all this happened, them going to jail and finding us in like a 2-hour period, like, and they, and something like there's too much created here. Like when Maz Kanata was saying all that, I think it's a better point. Like, where was she? Because you hear like Dagobah monsters, but I'm like, am I dreaming that? Am I
And
trying to make that better than
And
it
does
really
she
was?
have like a?
Does
Does she have like a Leica 2, like from Mario? Does she have a cameraman floating?
Yeah.
Because at first it was just on her, and I was like, okay, she has like some sort of camera, whatever. But then it follows her while she's running. The more I'm talking about it, the more bummed I'm getting.
Why did she even? Yeah, that's what I'm saying. If we have to make constant excuses and there have to be these huge, elaborate think pieces explaining
Right.
crazy theory crafting elements of the story, did it really work?
Right.
And I give it the first word I used was polarizing, because
Yeah.
it's a polarizing film. See it again, make your own decisions, because I did see it the first time, and the second time it was different because I knew what to expect
Yeah.
on certain parts. But also, like, the second time, I hated the parts I hated even more.
Mm-hmm.
It was worse. It was like, now I really hate this. So,
I was thoroughly entertained. Like, again, I've only seen it once, but watching it, it kept, and that could be just because it was Star Wars and I was interested, but it kept my attention. I was entertained as a movie. But I mean, you're right. You can't make that many. There's a few things, especially with a world that big, that okay, you need to make an excuse for it. You need to justify it, but you can't make that many excuses and expect it to be as cohesive as you think it will be. I think the problem is Rian Johnson had a lot of things in his head that maybe he wanted to happen in episode 7. Couldn't make that happen, but he was going on with those storylines anyway. Which, like, also, what's her name? The Asian American actress. What's the character's name?
who plays Rose?
Rose. The character started off with great motivation, like stopping her hero because her sister died, great, that's
Great.
perfect. But from then on, what the fuck
Fell
is
into the
happening?
trope. I hated
Yeah.
when she kissed him at the end. It was like,
Shouldn't
you
have
don't
happened.
need to do that, Rose. You've established the entire movie how you're on your own and Finn is beneath you, and you look at him like a little brother almost.
Yeah.
That you're scolding with, like, and it was.
Yeah, I think Rose should have died, personally. I think Rose should have knocked him out.
If Rose had died, I would have. I hate to say this, but I feel like I would have respected the character more. Would have had
Yeah.
more of a point, because then you would have been like, "Holy shit, Finn! You should feel guilty as now."
It
you know what I
adds
mean?
to, it
Like,
adds to Finn's character.
It does, and then Finn would be like, "That's my fault."
Yeah.
That's an arc that goes. You can go dark, good, redemption. You
Right.
know, maybe like you get a vision from Rose in the future that means a lot to him. You know,
Yeah.
God, man, like now I'm more emotionally invested in that idea than I
Than my
was.
fan fiction.
You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
and there was a lot. It's like, this is what, I hate to say this, and this is a harsh statement, but when I said this a lot about it, I was like, this is what you chose to do. This is your opportunity to do Star Wars, and this is where you went?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
you didn't want to have a sick battle in like a Death Star and lightsabers everywhere, and then some crazy shit. Like, no.
I will be excited because now Ryan...
They're going to ride scavenger ships on a salt planet and
bomb
never
into
touch sabers, have a 6-minute saber fight when they stare at each other for 5 minutes of it, deliver lines back and forth.
Yeah,
I kept being pissed too. I was like, where's the green saber? Why does he have the blue one?
right. That was a cool, again, thematically, that was a cool reveal where you're like, he cut his hair? He shaved. You can't. It was very well. That's the thing is Ryan Johnson is clearly a good filmmaker.
Yes.
And I will because now they signed him on to do a trilogy of his own. I think tentatively Old Republic something. Which
is what we're going to remake the prequels.
I don't know. Yeah, again, I'll be cautiously optimistic because you can see Ryan Johnson is a good filmmaker. He knows how to shoot a movie. He knows how to arc a movie. But the problem is maybe writing. He shouldn't have written it. Maybe let JJ write it all three.
Look, I read somewhere that in the original draft, Lucas's idea was that Luke did die and that the thing with Kylo happened, and I can understand that. Like, I could see Luke dying isn't the biggest problem of the movie in the end, because to me, it was the way it happened was more, it makes perfect sense, I guess, if they all faded out. But it was very anticlimactic. It was so like, look, if you had just given me one moment when Luke earlier in the film had showed up with green saber and him and Kylo had a quick little battle, and we saw that, and I would have gotten what I wanted to see. You could have done whatever you wanted at that point, because then I was like, my interests are quenched.
Right.
I got to see what I want. Now take me where you want to go. Isn't that the point of doing stories in a loved franchise like this?
Right.
Is that you give everyone their cake and then you show them some more stuff and they're like, oh man, I didn't even know I wanted that. Thanks for giving me both, man.
That's the hard part is well, that's the other thing too. You look at J.J. Abrams and the biggest complaint was it was too much like
It was too safe.
It was too safe.
It was like New Hope. It was too
New
safe.
Hope.
But it felt like Star Wars.
Right, but then you look at this one is like it was this too risky, and it's
color schematic wise, like there was a big thing Lucas always said, like the movies go into like colors, and like Empire is all like whites and grays and blacks, and then it goes to Cloud City like the oranges and blues, whereas Jedi is like green and Tatooine, green of Endor and Tatooine with the blacks and the grays of the Death Star, right?
Yeah.
And the first one is Tatooine and just the Death Star, it's very color based, and all the prequels are like that too. Sith is red and black, and similar peach, whereas Attack of the Clones is gladiator and dark brown, and he's on Tatooine again, everything is around Tatooine, man.
Yeah.
And someone else told me that Disney owns all the new names, but if they use the old names to planets, they have to pay a royalty or something.
Really?
Anytime they invoke old.
That would make a lot of sense. Because
they couldn't
we
say
go to
Tatooine.
They didn't
nothing
go to,
in either one
no,
of the new movies mentions any old planet. Coruscant, nothing. They're all
they're not even mentioned.
Yavin 4, nothing. Alderaan, none of it.
Because especially with the white salt, what was the name of that salt?
Crate. I thought Crate was spelled Krayt, but everyone spells it Crait.
It was a very aesthetically cool planet, but like even with the trenches and with the bunkers, it was just Hoth, but with salt instead of snow.
They totally ripped like one scene of the Hoth of the soldiers standing. I'm like, this is exactly like Empire Strikes Back.
When they're sliding into the bunker.
AT-ATs. I'm like, and it had to be AT and ATs. I'm like, you literally ripped it shot for shot of Empire.
Yeah.
It's the same shot.
Right.
That didn't need to be there. That was like.
Also, you couldn't pay me to convince me Phasma is dead.
No.
I think that's another red herring, especially you're not going to get such a big name in Gwendolyn Christie.
Right?
And she's in all the Entertainment Weekly covers, and she's in everything, and you can't convince me that they're going to give her the Boba Fett treatment just to kill her in an explosion.
Just exactly. I don't think so either.
No. Which, and again, too, she has her own comic book line. A lot of holes are filled on her character in the comic books, which is cool if you want to do the extra credit, but it shouldn't be mandatory. It should be extra. It should be like a bonus. Same with all the books. And that's the other thing, too, with Leia's Force.
Yeah.
Another thing, I didn't necessarily agree with it. That's the thing. Again, my friend Taylor told me in one of the books, Yoda straight up says Leia's more in tune with the Force than Luke is. She just hasn't been trained. Which, okay, but I've never read any of the books. How am I supposed to know that?
Yeah. Again, you like forcing us to do insane history to find 3 chapters in a 500-page book when they talk about this one line.
Right.
I mean, and that's like, come on, that's reaching, man. You're making us reach.
And I think my biggest problem with that scene with Leia using the Force was that I actually didn't have a problem that she used it. My problem was that it looked like she knew what she was doing. instead of, it should have been this sort of, again, this is all fan fiction, but it should have been this like untapped survival instinct. Oh shit, I got to use the Force now. But the way they shot it and the way it was acted made it look like I've done this, like I've done this before, and like.
I also felt like that scene was edited wrong, again with the continuity, because after it happens, you think, what happened? Oh my God, is she gone? Okay, that makes sense. Why aren't they showing me more though? Like, give me, and then they do like 2 or 3 other scenes and then come back to it. And by that point, you feel like 5 minutes has passed.
Right.
So it feels like longer, even if in the story it isn't. So it doesn't make any more sense. And I'm like, how can she survive in space? That's something I always have a problem with believing in movies, is when people survive in space that long. Guardians of the Galaxy. But Star-Lord has a built-in suit, so that was like, okay, whatever,
Right.
we're already, and
We're past that. Yeah.
in Gravity, there's a scene that happens, but then they fix it, and they're like, no, it didn't really happen. You're like, okay, like
Right.
that makes sense, Gravity's a crazy movie too, by the way. I recommend watching that over The Last Jedi. Just take some Dramamine. But all right, so final thoughts.
Yeah.
Let's wrap it up.
Yeah.
What I really enjoyed about the movie, I did like Rey. Rey's
Yeah.
progression, other than the announcement of her parents, is great. Rey's a badass.
Daisy Ridley is awesome too.
Rey is awesome. She's great. I love Rey. I think that Rey is badass, and I think Rey can kick some ass, and she can already levitate shit. She's hell of strong.
Yeah.
Like, Rey is ready to go. So, but Rey has dipped into the dark side.
Right.
Don't forget that. Like, Rey went there, and even
Immediately.
almost immediately, multiple times, and went like, I'm not afraid. That may cost her. We'll
Right.
see. And her weakness may be trying to help people too much.
Yeah.
And Kylo may take advantage of that in the future.
I will say too, the main characters, I think, are set up great. No matter what happened with The Last Jedi in between, I think now that JJ is taking back over for the final episode, I think it's going to be really great. I'm interested to see where they go with Poe, because they're very clearly, especially with Carrie Fisher gone, he is now going to be the general of the Resistance. At least
Yeah.
I hope so. So I'm interested in that, and I also think too, I'm interested to see where Kylo takes it as the new Supreme Leader.
I agree.
Overall, a light thumbs up, but it more than anything got me excited for episode 9 than anything else.
Thumbs down for me. But, that you make your own judgments. I know a lot of people who did enjoy it, and it just wasn't for me. But that's okay.
That's okay.
I did like Force Awakens. I'm looking forward. I will go see the next one, too. It's not like, I'll never see Star Wars again. I'll
Not
write him
looking
hate
forward
mail.
to Solo. That's...
We'll be back later to talk about Solo.
Oh, Christ.
Hey, thanks, Josh, for coming
Yeah,
out
thank
tonight.
you.
This is the inaugural episode of Talkin' Slime TV. Stay tuned, my friends. We'll be back with more right here on Optimus Live.